if you clicked on this video, you probably feel like you're not meant to live a normal life. You've been kind of fluctuating in between the feeling of not really being like everybody else, not wanting to be like everybody else, but you're still a bit scared about what other people think of you. You want to fit in some areas of your life. You're striving for more and you're continuing to improve yourself, but there's still lots of doubt. There's still periods where you're really, really down and you don't feel that well at all. And I've been in this place many, many times, and now I'm in a bit of a more positive period of my life. And so the reason that I got out of this negative thinking pattern, despite being a quite high performer, like I can run quite fast and I can lift pretty heavy weights and I've got a six pack and everything. And I'm not saying this to like brag or boast about my results, but just to put some perspective to this. The external things that everybody tells you, that everybody puts on a pedestal, it's not making you happy. It doesn't really make a difference if you don't have the internal foundation set out. So what I mean by all of this is that I've always, not always, but when I started to become aware of this feeling of wanting more, of wanting to be a bit different from everybody else, and I actually had the drive to pursue it. I had the drive to take action, because everybody has goals, right? Everybody has a dream to maybe become rich, to become successful, to prosper in some area of their life. But how many people do you know who have actually changed? How many people do you know who have actually taken action on their goals, who pursue the things? Not that many, because it hurts. It hurts a shit ton. It's crushing your soul, it's crushing your spirit, and it's a lot of suffering, to be honest. It's not a very beautiful reality all of the times. And it's a very lonely journey, if I'm going to be completely honest. You don't really have that many people. If your parents aren't really supporting you, you don't really have many friends, it can be very hard to find support. And so I wanted to articulate this message to anybody who feels kind of like the same way as I used to, where you're not really fitting in with the crowd. You don't have the results and the skill set enough to actually show for the things that you've actually done. You don't have the ability to articulate why you're doing all of these weird habits like meditation. Maybe you're on a weird diet, or a weird diet, but maybe you're on a diet that's not that common. It's fine. It's completely fine to try out new things. It's completely fine to feel like you're not really meant to just go down the path that everybody else is going down. And that path of like trying to improve yourself, building a future that you genuinely enjoy. For me personally, I've really reflected about this. It's not so much about like getting $100 million and buying a Lamborghini and a yacht or whatever, but it's more about building a future that I genuinely can wake up and be proud of. It's not about the money. If I feel like I can live fulfilled, just like living in the forest, I'll do that, because it's not about these external things. Because this is probably the biggest realization that had in my life. Every single goal, every single like character trait, every single thing that you might even buy, like a course, mentorship, whatever, that is not going to be the thing that like puts you over on that edge. Of course, it can light a spark inside of you, but you already have it inside of you. And this is when you will become like, this is when you will unlock the depth of consciousness. What I mean by this is when you start spending more time in the present moment. The present moment is the now. It's just observing all of the things around you and realize that when I'm speaking these words, it's just words. Like they just come from like my throat or whatever, and they're just made up like tonalities that formulate something to communicate a message, right? But the complexity of like nature, the complexity of our lives, we try to put that into words, and that's why it can be so brutally difficult to explain a feeling, to explain something that you felt inside of you. And truthfully, you don't need to understand it with words. If you can just sit there and be present with a feeling, like for example, if you're feeling anxious, usually my anxiety can sit like in my stomach, like here, for example. It can sit there as just an example. If you can sit with it and try and be totally present and just wait for those thoughts to creep in. And when those thoughts creep in, just observe them. Just observe your thoughts. And then, of course, you can add on the scientific things of dopamine fasting and leveraging the ability to not like overstimulate yourself by like indulging in instant gratification. Of course, that's a great pursuit. I highly agree with that. But if you don't have the present moment with you when you're pursuing all of these things, you're gonna be a lost soul. And that's what I've realized. Like, I've been on this path for two years, like of pretty dedicated discipline. Like, imagine, I was like, how old was I? I was like 13-ish, 14 when I started meditating, journaling, gratitude, expressing my thoughts, trying to improve my ability, trying to understand like the YouTube algorithm, but with other channels. I uploaded daily YouTube shorts in like 2023 on like another channel, on a history YouTube channel for like 100 and something days. I built up a really great momentum. I got to like 30,000 views a day, but then I eventually quit because I didn't really find it fulfilling anymore. So I started this YouTube channel instead, and that was the time when I started to speak in front of the camera, not just like create behind the camera basically. And so I think why I was doing all of this was just because I felt like it. I had a calling inside of me because I've always it's pretty weird because I've always like had the call to express my thoughts in front of a camera. I remember when I was younger, I used to like grab like we had a GoPro, and I used to like pretend that I was live streaming to other people, and I was just playing Minecraft, for example, but I wasn't like allowed to stream or anything, so I was just basically pretending to be live streaming in front of other people, responding to the chat and everything. And of course, I was like 8 years old or whatever when I was doing this. But that just highlights something that has been longing inside of me for a very, very long time, to articulate my thoughts, to be able to express something, for example, on YouTube, on social media, just like pursue the ability to just articulate a message to other people and have influence. That's a better word. Even in real life, I like to like discuss things with people. If people want to like challenge me on a thought, for example, I say like, I like this thing, for example. If I say I like this sport, I like going to the gym, and then somebody asks you why, it's not that functional, you might get stiff or whatever. I like to explain ideas, I like to break down these things, and it's completely fine to acknowledge these things. So what I encourage you to do, unlock the present moment. Unlock it first of all. Then what I want you to do is just like sit there with the present moment and try and build upon that. So first of all, you have the present moment as your foundation, as the layer of the basic layer, and then you basically build on top of that with purpose. And this is basically how you can turn life into a video game that you truly enjoy. You will enjoy this video game because it is basically like you're already happy, you're already at peace with yourself, and now you're just like playing fun games. Maybe you want to try and make some money, maybe you want to go and study something that you find fulfilling. And maybe you don't know what you want to do with your life, and that's completely fine. But then I would recommend unlock the present moment and start improving yourself and leveraging like dopaminergic fasting and everything. And I cover all of that inside of my free community that's called the Zero Theory. I would be really happy if you want to join, because I want to change as many lives as possible, and I'm gonna try my best to like put in as much effort as humanly possible into actually making that work for you. And also, if you want to do the YouTube algorithm stuff, that's something that I would appreciate, like subscribing and everything. The more people who see this, the more people can actually unlock this. And this is how we can like build like a great society as a whole, just because we have the foundation figured out. Everybody's working towards something that they deem fulfilling and fun. Just imagine if like you had a couple of friends who were on the same path as you. It would be truly beautiful. And I'm not trying to like market my YouTube channel. Yeah, subscribe to me. No, but it's more about, if you just do this in your own private life, you don't have to talk about me or anything, but if you just do this in your own personal life, watch how your relationships will start to change, how your parents will start to treat you differently maybe, or they will treat you with more gratitude, you will treat them with more gratitude, because what you put out is what you receive back. So I encourage you to do this today and continue on this journey. And this is all I had to say for today, and I hope that you got some value out of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.